Okay, now let's talk about our basic IT terms and definitions. Let's have a look at the basic concepts of programming in English and how everything is called here. You know, if you have been working in this field for a long time, I think you know everything, and this information may be interesting for you only from the point how everything is called in English. But if you just started your career here, if you are a beginner, then I think this information will be very helpful and interesting for you. Basically, everything that is written inside the code are zeros and ones. So just imagine you can communicate with your computer using this very simple language of zeros and ones. Like 00 is a letter A and 01 is a letter B, and so on. And your computer will understand the language that you are using. So, as a programmer, you have a task to convert or to translate normal human language into these zeros and ones. You know, like a translator makes a translation from English into Chinese, into German, and so on. There are languages that are necessary for communication between people and languages that can be used to establish a communication between your computer and human being, which is called a code that we can use to explain computer what it has to do and what it should do. These can be very simple languages like zeros and ones. There may be also languages of a higher level of abstraction like Python or JavaScript and so on, but the principle is the same. At the very end, everything is converted into zeros and ones that your machine can understand. And if we are talking about programming, we can say that there are two major areas here: a back-end development and a front-end development. Front-end is easier for us to understand because it is everything that we can see on our site or in our app. This is our interface or our pictures with letters, with some animation, with videos, and so on. The backend is the part which is invisible to the user when the real magic happens, where the request that the user sends from the website or application, for example, if you press a button, the program will send this query to the server and everything will be processed. Backend is everything that is under hood. So the engine is working, the shafts are rotating, transmitting the torque to the wheels, and so on. And naturally, here we need some more elements, some bricks from which we build our house, we build our program, our system. These are some pieces of information which are combined into databases. These are bases with our information that can be stored in a physical location on our server or in cloud. So to sum it up, a database is a specific set of data that can be stored in a structured or organized form. As a rule, we can make here a distinction between relational and non-relational databases. Relational databases consist of some kind of tables or represented in the form of spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets. Non-relational databases are a sort of databases that are not represented in a form of spreadsheets or in a tabular form, but we can have here some values. We can assign some values to some fields. For example, you see, and this value is a kind of a key. So we can find the information by the key in our database. As a rule, regardless whether we are talking about front-end or back-end, when we're working with databases, we use some standard elements, some standard operations, queries. For example, if we are working with our website, like website of a department store, we can use similar elements or even the same elements like login form, product card, product display, and so on. And we don't need to write everything new. We don't write everything from scratch because we can use these elements for our different projects. So we can use our libraries, the so-called libraries or frameworks. So it's naturally quite easier to find and copy ready-made blocks or units of information from one project to another than to write everything from scratch, from zero. So we just need to take some part of our code, which we can see in many different projects. We can write an instruction how to use these lines of codes and make some links here, and we have our framework down. So framework that allows us to standardize our common solution, to write our code much easier and much quicker. Naturally, all our products, all our programs run not in a space, but they are all running like now you are watching this video. So your programs are running on your computer or on your phone or tablet. But if we have a close look at our device, we can see here a display made of glass or plastic, and we can also find here some hardware, but these are all individual parts, standalone parts that are not connected with each other, or maybe connected, but they don't know how to interact with each other without the environment, without the operating system. So to make all things work properly, for example, graphic, video card, display, output to display, printers and so on, we need an operating system. Or simpler, a program that allows you to manage all the hardware, all the components of your computer simultaneously at the same time, so your computer works as a single organism. Okay, that's it for today with our general terms and definitions, and now let's move on to some specific areas. And our first big area is software development or application development, which is also sometimes called software design. It is a software engineering process where software programs are created and changed according to users' needs or users' specifications. API, Application Program Interface. This is a set of computer codes that make it possible for different types of software to communicate with each other and exchange data. Cloud computing, a very important term because almost every IT infrastructure is built or relies on cloud computing. Cloud computing is a way of using computers in which you use software or space for storing that is on the internet rather than on your own computer. So you are using external resources, internet resources, instead of using your own computer. Open source. Open source is a concept or principle where the source code for a piece of software is freely available for anyone to use, modify and distribute. And for these reasons we can also use GitHub. It is an online software development platform and version control platform which can be used for storing, tracking and collaborations on software projects. All the projects can be organized in a form of repositories in GitHub. It is a central storage location for managing and tracking your changes in files and directories. Forking. Forking is a very popular and very interesting technique in GitHub. So you can use the repository of other programmers, you can copy it to your account and make your own changes to this copy. So it means you can fork this project. And if your changes are valuable, or if you think that they are available for the entire project, you can make a pull request. This is a kind of a request for the people that maintain a repository to accept your piece of code that will make changes to the repository. Legacy code. Sometimes you have to cope with a legacy code. It is an old computer source code that is no longer supported on the standard hardware and environment, but nevertheless, sometimes we need to this legacy code because sometimes we need to deal with this legacy code on older systems, or if we try to use this legacy code as a basis for our development. Authorization. It's a very important step, process of granting permission to do something or to access a certain resource after checking level of access and after the authentication step is completed. And logically here we have another term, the authentication. It is the process that an individual or software or application service goes through to prove their identity before gaining access to digital system. So to get an authorization, first you need to go through the authentication. And sometimes systems may use firewalls. This is a device or software that monitors network activities and can block unauthorized or suspicious network traffic. Sometimes it doesn't help, and for this case it will be wise to have a backup copy. It means a copy that you can use to restore your software, your program, your system, and so on. Tech stack. Tech stack is a combination of technologies a company or a person uses to build and run a mobile or web application. So tech stack, these are different programming languages, frameworks, libraries, and so on. Pet project. Sometimes you can develop your own pet project, for example, pet project at home. It is an activity that you do in your spare time, and you can do this pet project to improve your skills. And sometimes pet projects can be a good start for your new career or even for your new business. Microservice. Microservice is a small, loosely coupled distributed service, and each microservice is designed to perform a specific business function and can be developed, deployed, and scaled independently. It can be used as an alternative to monolith approach. It means where the entire software program is developed as a monolith program, and if you use microservices, it can make your life much easier. For example, you can develop a program simultaneously where different teams develop their own small part of a big software suite. Here you can also use libraries. Library is a small set of routine, generally consists of pre-written code, classes, procedures, scripts, configuration, and data and more. And please do not mix libraries and frameworks. They are very similar, but framework is a higher level of abstraction than the library. Now let's move on to our next topic, a big area which is very important, software testing. Software testing is a process used to identify the accuracy, completeness, and quality of your product. And here we can use different methods, and the first one is the so-called black box method, a method of software testing that examines the functionality of an application without peering into its internal structures or workings. It means that your testers do not know the internal structure of this program. As an opposite method, we can use a white box method. A white box method is a testing technique where a tester is given access to all internal code base of the system, so your testers know pretty well how the system is built, how it is structured, and what is inside. We can also use a mix of a black box and white box method, which is called gray box. It is a form of software testing in which the tester has only partial knowledge of the system under tests. So this is a kind of a combination of white box and black box testing. Pen or penetration tests. It is an authorized simulated cyber attack on a computer system performed to evaluate the system security. So you can try to penetrate your system to understand whether all your security systems are robust enough to withstand this kind of attacks. Load test. Load test is a method designed to determine how a system behaves under expected normal and peak loads. So you can test your system during normal operation and with peak workloads. Regression test. Regression test is a type of testing where you can verify that your changes made in the code base do not impact the existing software functionality. So it means you can make some changes, but the core functionality is not affected. Smoke or sanity test. It means a type of test that aims to confirm whether the basic functionalities of your software are working as intended. And the next one is acceptance tests, a quality assurance process that determines to what degree an application meets end users' approval. It means if your software is ready and you can show it to your customers, you can offer this to your customers, or it is not ready for this stage. The next one big group of terms are processes. Processes may include code review, debugging, agile programming or coding, and refactoring. And our first term here is code review or peer review. It means a process where someone other than the author of a piece of a code or the authors of a piece of a code examines that code. Debugging. Debugging is a process of identifying and removing bugs or errors in the code. Refactoring. Refactoring is a process of changing a software system in a way that doesn't alter the external behavior of the code, yet it improves its internal structure. Reverse or back engineering. Reverse or back engineering is a process in which software and other products are deconstructed to extract design information from them. In most cases, reverse engineering is not allowed by manufacturers or software developers, because using this method you can try to understand the source code of your application, of your software. Agile coding. Agile coding is a set of methodologies to help software developer teams collaborate. For example, there can be two coders, two programmers that work on the same workstation at the same time. The one is writing a code and the other one is reviewing it. And sometimes they can change their roles, and the first one is called driver and the second one is normally called observer. So the driver writes the code and the observer observes it. Using this method we can improve the quality of our coding, and we can also avoid some mistakes here. Now let's have a look at our next topic, project management, which is a set of methodologies to help software developers teams collaborate. And here we can have again such a notion as agile management, which is an incremental delivery, team collaboration, continual planning, and continual learning. Another very popular project management method is a Kanban, which is designed to visualize your work as it moves through the process. For example, we can have here Kanban boards when all our processes are broken down in three sections: to do, in progress, and done. So to do, what we need to do; in progress, the things that are being done now; and done, the things that are done, so we can track our progress or we can compare the results. Scrum. Scrum is the management method that prescribes for team to break work into goals. So a big problem or a big challenge can be broken down into smaller time-boxed parts that our team can solve one by one, gradually in smaller pieces. And here we can also use a planning poker or Scrum poker session. It's like a normal poker when the participants or team members try to guess the volumes of our work to be done based on our previous experience. But these are not clear statements, these are only assumptions. User story. User story is what our users expect to see at the end of our project. Basically, it's an informal general explanation of a software feature written from the perspective of the end user or customer. Waterfall method. Waterfall method is a traditional project management methodology, and it takes a well-defined project idea to completion through a sequential series of linear steps, tasks, and handoffs. And here we can use our cascade approach, a procedure for setting objectives in which the objectives are set from the top level of management to down. Okay, that is now with our project management methods in IT domain. And now let's have a look at our IT HR and employment terms and definitions. And the first one is outsourcing. It's the practice of using external resources by subcontracting some or all of the information technology functions required by business. It means if we don't have enough resources, we can subcontract them using freelancers or experts from other IT companies. Outstaffing. Outstaffing is a model of team augmentation that implies hiring external specialists from another software development company to enhance your own team. And logically now you can ask me a question: what is the difference between outsourcing and outstaffing? The main difference between outstaffing and outsourcing is that outsourcing implies hiring people on a long-term basis, and outstaffing only for a specific project or job. That is very simple. Job offer. Job offer is an invitation from your potential employee to work in a specific position. And we can remember the phrase,
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
And we can also have a counter offer. We can make a counter offer, the response given to an offer, meaning that the original offer was rejected and replaced with another. Maybe you need to adjust some working conditions or something of that kind. Onboarding. Onboarding, if you are employed, it means the process in which newly hired employees are introduced and integrated into their new role at a company. Onboarding process can last a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, depending on the size of the company and depending on the company's standard procedures and routines. Relocation. Relocation is the process of moving one or more employees from one location to another, which can be done within the same city or to a different city or even to a different country. And as opposed to relocation, we can also have a remote job that an employee performs outside a company office. It means you can do your remote job under flexible working arrangement. And we can also have here a flexible scheme. It means sometimes you need to be at the office 1 day a week or maybe 1 day a month for a meeting, but all other time you can work from your home office, for example, from a very sweet place. Sabbatical, another very good term. I think that all of us like this word sabbatical. This is an extended paid period of time away from our usual work for the purposes of rest, training, travel, or for some other reasons. For example, if a very valuable employee thinks that he needs some rest apart from his standard leave, or he needs to think about a new project inside of the company, he or she can take a sabbatical, a paid leave which can last from 1 week or 2 weeks to 6 months depending on the company. Switcher, a person, a specialist from another field of expertise who changed his or her career area, like for example a teacher who starts to work as a programmer. No, it's not me. Performance reviews. Performance reviews are regular evaluations to assess an employee's job performance and provide feedback on strengths, weaknesses, and areas for growth. Okay guys, that's it for today. So we tried to learn lots of very hands-on and very useful phrases and very useful terms and definitions. I hope this will help you in your future work. You can write me and we can discuss this topic, okay?